Peace, 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 family. How you all doing? I hope all is well with you. My name is Keisha. I'm the owner of Ascendant Astrology, and I am your astrology coach. Today, I'm going to be discussing Mercury in Pisces, which, by the way, I don't remember if I did a live for Mercury going into Pisces, guys. In fact, I don't think I did. I'll go research, but yeah. I really gotta think about that. Um, Mercury in Pisces is going to conjunct Saturn and Aquarius. So they're both at the anaretic degree, so they're sitting right side by side. I actually really like this transit together with the Venus and Jupiter conjunction. I think it's going to bring a lot of spiritual conversations and or religious conversations because of the Pisces energy, but typically I tend to like when Mercury and Saturn are together because they're very business oriented. They're about their business. And when you bring Pisces here, it does bring it down a notch in reference to the business aspect of it. But depending on where you're at on your spiritual journey, it also can be meant for people who have spiritual businesses or any kind of, spiritual beliefs and practices, a way of life, a philosophy, a belief, their morals and ethics that kind of come with their business. Really, you get a leg up here with that, especially once we have the Virgo full moon. This is really dope for spiritual people and people who are really on the journey to come to some really big realizations about things, especially who you can be open to. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about all of these themes together, but right now I'm specifically talking about both Venus and Mercury family. Don't forget, I did the Venus and Jupiter conjunction yesterday, which is for the next few weeks. If you need to go listen to that video 10 times, 1,000 times, a trillion times, do it, take notes, be intentional because you really do have the potential to bring in a lot of blessings right now. And if not anything at all, some serious happiness. So people who are looking for their divine counterpart and happiness and romantic relationships, beautiful. Um, no, seriously, even if it doesn't go anywhere and you're just meeting somebody for the first time, you're going to meet somebody who is going to be the epitome of what you would love to find in a romantic partner. You have the potential for that. So be open to that energy. Um, and I think the conversations and what you learn and if you're open to it, um, wow, I just feel like it's a really beautiful energy, right? Because I could get really into it and get off track. So I'm gonna shut up now. So let me just fix this right quick. So together these two are really good for romance in my personal opinion and business. And on the opposite side of that, closing out old chapters, detoxing, releasing anything old that no longer serves you. If you have old stuff that you still want to keep, this is a good time for like, when you rotate your shelves and move things around, that like that, it's really good to bring out old stuff in a new way, even if it's content or business wise. Go back through your old content, see what things you can bring back up. A lot of old conversations from last year, November, might come back up because this is definitely hitting on um the North and South Node energies that we had because this month is the Mars square. Neptune energy. So if you want to go back to that video to revisit that, it's a really, really, really good time to see what things might be coming up from that time. Um, and just to detox in general, meditate, and only keep in focus in the vision. Hold the vision on who you want to bring into this new um shift that we're moving into, because we have a lot of planets changing energy this month. And hold that energy of what you absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, are bringing with you. Close and shut out anything that comes up that's negative, irrelevant, unhealthy, don't want it no more, and you're done. Let that forgiveness, closure, close those chapters with peace and love. Gratitude, you learned something from it. Show gratitude for what you learned from those things that are coming up, because they're gonna come. You can simultaneously be going through an ending, meanwhile having the most beautiful beginnings in your entire life, which kind of sucks, but that's just the way it is, okay? Um, so yeah. It could be for work too, by the way, family, for people out there. This is a really good time to ask for a raise. I'll be doing horoscopes for this Virgo full moon. It's a good time for almost all signs to ask for a raise. I will make sure that I incorporate in there for the people who do work, if you have that opportunity. Um, what else? I think that's about it before I completely lose everybody, but I'm just so excited about it. Like, I really hope that everybody is taking the time to be intentional, and I hope that everybody gets exactly what it is they're looking for, because you deserve it. Um, so Mercury will conjunct Saturn on the 2nd, tomorrow, right? Today's Wednesday. Is today Wednesday? Let me look at my calendar. Yeah, today's Wednesday. So Thursday, this conjunction will happen, and we'll feel this energy for about a week. And because it's happening again at an anaretic degree, and most of the new planets that are changing into new signs are both at those anaretic degrees. So these are really finally ending something, final decisions, no going back. So don't rush. Don't let that undertone of the Aries energy push you into making decisions. And people could feel rushed at this time. So be mindful if people are rushing you. Don't listen to them. Tell them okay, but get back to them once you really sat down and thought things through. This, because it's Mercury, it could be around paperwork, contracts, agreements, um, licenses, inspections, um, things of that nature could feel really rushed. Big projects. People could be like, you have to have this done by this time. I promise you, it's an illusion. Do not rush. Do not be forced to bring in negative energy into your new beginning. Sit with it and make your decision. Um, and that'll be those energies, that back and forth energy will be going on for the rest of the year. So, it'll lighten up after eclipse season, which is April, May. But for the most part, because Pluto and Aquarius will be at the anaretic degree for this all the way up until 2024 or 2025. I did a video on that, so go check out when, but just be mindful of that. That feeling rushed, or somebody like, I need you to get this done now. Um, and the anaretic degree is the last degree of each sign. And that's also the Saturn energy. So Saturn's really, really strong here. And Pisces, because we're still in Pisces season. So um, this is an energy worth sitting down and taking in and seeing where it really is bringing you and what's coming up for you. I don't think you're going to be able to avoid it anyways, but so Mercury rules over both Virgo. So you want to make sure you incorporate Virgo themes here. And because of the full moon, even more so, you want to make sure you're incorporating Virgo energy. And Gemini. So that's the sixth house and the third house. So the sixth house is work, your work environment, patterns and habits, hygiene, health, detox, letting go, releasing, divorce can come up here as well. Co-workers, bosses, being a boss, outsourcing. So if you need babysitters, contractors, any kind of partnering in business or for anything else, like somebody coming to clean your house or nannies or a car service, any kind of service, any service oriented business can come up quite heavily here. You'll have the support for whatever that is. Just don't let anybody rush you, okay? And don't let anybody fast talk you either into making any decisions. Although I don't get that specifically with this, but it could be a thing. Because of the Venus Jupiter conjunction. Um, it's also health appointments. So if you have like any doctor's appointments or anything like that, a lot of people could be switching doctors to more holistic doctors, nutrition and other forms of health care here. I think we can see that with the Venus Jupiter conjunction a lot as well. Seeking more information, outside information, holistic alternative routes of health here. So now would be a good time to actually look into those things if that's something that you're looking for. Um, um, Health, work, hygiene. I think on the lower vibration, just watch out for being too critical, to the point where it could actually derail your decision making process. So again, just be open to listening to what people have to say. Even if you don't like it, just listen, consume the information, sit with it, see if there's anything you can take and look in a different perspective before you make a decision. And if you're getting nothing, that's okay. Don't be hard on yourself either. But at least try to sit with it and process what it is that you're taking in before you make a decision. You won't regret it. Um, um, yeah, I think being too critical and judgmental, is a good, um, two things to watch out for, especially with Jupiter being activated, because it can expand your ignorance to the point where you make a bad decision. Um, and it also rules pets, horses, especially with Jupiter. Jupiter rules horses. So animals in some way, shape, or form can be coming up in a pretty big way here. I'd be very careful, even though Mars is in Gemini and it's not in the house of Virgo. Be careful for being bitten by animals. If you are somebody who's around a lot of animals, it can happen. Um, okay. Um, and then for the third house, this is your communication, changing the way you communicate, your writing skills. Make sure you double check, recheck, and triple check everything that you're sending out. This could be a lot of texting back and forth, email correspondence back and forth, group chats, just very chatty, a lot of socializing going on here. Um, Maybe even having the desire to be on social media a lot more than you typically are, um or handheld devices being a thing. Be careful for dropping your devices in water with Pisces and water energy. um Also, um sales, learning, studying, any kind of vocation. Um, Especially with the Aries energy, this is a great time to learn a trade or something to do with your hands. Any kind of skill or trade that has to do with your hands, you will excel greatly at this time. Um, this could also be children, childhood education, things coming up around that, siblings, neighbors, um, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, cousins. There could be a lot of back and forth with those people in your family, or people who feel, or friends who feel like family, even friends or people you socialize with. So coworkers can be a really big theme here of socializing. Or people that you do specific things with, like go out to a bar or socialize with on social media, or a lot of surfing on the web, researching, and things of that nature. And then Saturn, um, is restrictions, limitations, depression, um, worry, um, on a lower vibration. It could be very hard to change your mind on something. So being stuck in your ways, remember, be open. That's going to be the key. Anytime you're talking about Mercury, especially from a Gemini perspective, it's about being flexible. Um, so really taking in information, being observational more so even than chatting, perhaps, depending on, what situations you're in. But being very observant of your environment and what's going on can help you more now than anything, and listening. Listen to what people are saying. It's going to probably give you a lot more information, because Pisces is really kind of behind the scenes, internal, um, your internal space and emotions. And so a lot of people could be assessing their emotions, having a really hard time communicating their emotions in a way where they feel like they're going to be heard, especially with Chiron being activated now too, because Chiron really does bring up your wounds and things that you need healing from. And I think where we're at right now as a society, because we've already been downtrodden so much, and held back so much that people are ready to burst out of the seams. And I think what we're going to get a lot of is people again feeling like there's a last minute to get something done. So, especially in relationships, if you're on the verge of breaking up with somebody, it's going to be one of those things where somebody might come through, but they're saying all the wrong things, even though they're coming through asking you for forgiveness. They want to be heard, they want to be healed. These people are looking for emotional security, to not be judged for the things that they've done. And where they've been, they're trying to do better, but might not know where to go or how to do it. And I'm not saying to give them a pass or feel guilty for people. People do need to take accountability. And I think I talked about this in my video the other day, that a lot of people are going to stand up and start taking accountability. Dude, my mom apologized to me this morning, even though she was still rude. I think she can help it. I think it's a mental disorder, no bullshit. Um, but you can tell like she was hurt, and she was responding I heard two different scenarios. I heard, help me, I'm sinking, I am trying, I don't bother you, why are you like this to me? But at the same time she was mad, like fuck you, that was rude, and all the typical kind of degrading, um down talking, um kind of manipulative language, the addictive behavior language, where people just kind of want to suck your fucking energy away. So you're really in a battle here of making a decision. I don't think it should be fully a no, depending on who that person is. But Saturn, put some boundaries on them. Hey, I hear you. I understand. I'm going through some shit too. And I'm sorry if I made you feel that way. That wasn't my intent. But I still got to keep you at this distance. I still expect these things from you if you want to be in my life. Do you understand? And some people are going to get a full no, right? It just depends who you're dealing with and what the circumstances are. Some people are going to get completely cut off because this is an ending, a complete ending. And if it's not a complete ending, then it's an ending of the way a relationship used to be, by holding somebody accountable. Tell them, like, you got to go get some help and see somebody and get some counseling. um you know Even though in the spirit community, counseling is not um recommended. But remember, this is Gemini we're talking about. This is the 3D we're talking about. I've been telling you guys this for a long time. You cannot escape the resources and things that you need to build in the 3D. And if you're already coming from a trauma mind, I don't give a fuck who you are or what you do. You're not going to be able to heal with a mind that's already trauma. You understand what I'm saying? You have to release the trauma. And so some people might need counseling just to help them get a leg up. But trust me, once, if you are spiritual and you're in counseling, you're going to know when it's time to go. And I shared my story about being in counseling for 10 years. And at the same time, simultaneously, I was taking classes. And that's why I was able to wake up and see, I understand why spiritual people recommend you absolutely don't go through counseling, because it's all it does, it keeps you in a loop, right? And so when you're in something and you're doing something consistently for a long period of time, you'll start to feel bored, like you're not being of service or help anymore. You're not learning anything new. That's your cue to get up and go. And that's exactly what happened to me. And that brought me to the spiritual class with a green book that I showed you guys, because I started to say, I was still feeling empty. I've gotten to a really good point in my life, and things started to make more sense, and I was healthier in a sense, but I still felt empty, a lack, um, lost, fear, sadness, even. Well, I could do more. I should be doing better. These are all themes that can come up between Mercury, Pisces, and Saturn. Okay. And so acknowledging that you're in that space is the difference between knowing when it's time to move and shift and change something, do something different. And you can't really do that without an educated mind, right? And so that was another thing that helped me. I was also learning and reading at the same time. So if you're somebody who's super spiritual, no, you don't need to go to counseling, because you can change through learning and consuming new information that's going to change your trauma thought process. But not everybody's that strong, and you're going to need to do some counseling, just period. That's my stance on that. Everybody's going to be different, but a lot of these themes can come up with Saturn, very trauma bonding, um, things that come from the darkness, right? But on the high vibration of Saturn, again, it's boundaries, structure, consistency, to master something, to understand something, to learn it. That's how you know if something's working. That's why they say when you're doing business, don't be discouraged if your first business or idea doesn't work, or if it doesn't go anywhere and it only makes it so far. Maybe that was all you was meant to do, right? Um, there are so many other different factors other than just failure as to why a business doesn't make it, or doesn't go any further. But if you sit down and you talk to successful people who have something that has been consistently running, and they have some wealth and followers and such underneath their belt, they will tell you how many different businesses they've started and never finished, or they're still there. And I don't know, maybe they'll eventually go back to them. That's just a part of starting a business, and learning, and the process of, it's really just about being disciplined, and structured and having a system into doing something, that's what you're really learning. And so it could be something that's vibrational when we're talking about Saturn and Aquarius, where that you just grew out of that vibration, and that's why something stops, right? Again, there are many different levels as to why something stops and doesn't go, but try not to stay in a depressive state. So, woe is me, I'm not good enough, because that's not what that means. And you're human, so I'm always talking about two different dimensions. You're gonna have a downtime. Just don't stay there, right? So Saturn is going to be bringing up all these things, especially because again, it's been in Aquarius for a really long time. So we've learned something about not staying somewhere that doesn't feed you, right? And it's just a matter of understanding when you get in that space, stay long enough to be human and emotional and allow yourself to feel those emotions, but then get back up, get back on track, and have systems and things in place for that, whether that's somebody you talk to, a vice you have, a significant other. Maybe you might go out, um, whatever those things are for you that kind of lift you up and get you out of a dark space. And I think that's what we're going to be seeing a lot here. And even these kinds of conversations are going to come up a lot here around these themes, which I think is very healthy. I think you're getting two things. You're getting an opportunity to look at something from a different perspective that perhaps maybe before Saturn wasn't allowing you to see, it was blocking you, right? Because Saturn can do that, or it was distancing us, right? Saturn and Aquarius was all about social distancing and not being close to people and human feel, touch. Pisces, your sensuality, right? And your emotions and feeling that with another person. And we're going to be starting to want that more, especially once Pluto moves into Aquarius. This is about the people, just period. We're going to be fighting with devices, social media, and AI, but this is about the people, right? And wanting to connect with somebody physically, like physical touch. I think I have a post for you guys for that too, where I can break down that theme a little bit more, but that's going to be really, really, really important. People are ready to get out, they're ready to mingle. We want social interaction and intellectual interaction. And so here are some of the themes. You may be drawn to learn and study, think, and exercise the mind. You could be frustrated by what you're learning and lose interest. We can be planning something, um, strategic, business planning. So a coach would be really good for this energy, or a guru, um, getting a coach or a guru. Don't plan out of worry and stress, because again, you can make a wrong decision. You can become good at writing, the combination of like word plays. Be careful for being manipulated, especially with Mercury and Pisces on a lower vibration. Because people want to feel something, and a Mercury and Pisces, they're gonna make you feel something, okay? And it's gonna feel good. And it's gonna be hard to say no if that's something that you're desiring, Venus. And remember, Jupiter is expanding that opportunity. So be mindful of being played. Unfortunately, it's just what it is. On the other hand, this could be people sharing love through a music or playlist that gives you these types of feelings. Somebody who's a really good editor, teaching. If you're too controlling, it can lead to changing your entire plan, which can cause trouble, especially if somebody's rushing you. Um, we'll want to structure. We'll want structure when it comes to speech, thinking, and presentations. If you become too rigid, you can lose sight of your boundaries, meaning, imagine yourself doing a presentation of public speaking, and you have all these rules set up, and it doesn't allow your mind to think. Like, I write notes every time I come on here to speak, and I promise you, this is why my videos are so long, because if I don't say what I wrote, my imagination doesn't come. I can't bring up all those other additional things that I didn't write down. I have a hard time physically writing out my imaginational process and how I feel, although I can thinking about this shit all the time. It's fucking ridiculous. But until I say that of what it is, the um extra parts that I think are most important don't come out. So a lot of the times I'm listening to other people and I have to write it down in order to get my own thoughts out. Even if I'm reading a book, I have to write it down to get my own thoughts out. I really, really, really struggle with that. So this can be stuff like that. Um, Being too rigid, like a lack of imagination, like your brain's not allowing you to speak from the imagination, if that makes sense at all. Be careful for getting caught up in rigid patterns of thought, depression, and melancholy. This can provide an opportunity to heal this kind of thinking. So, also noticing if you're in that space and doing some research to understand what it is, or having a counselor, somebody, or a guru, a mentor, somebody to talk to help you, you know, get out of that process. Be careful for being too practical and unimaginative, literally what I was just talking about. Um, this really can block your imagination, especially for me, because I've had Saturn in my house of Aquarius, which is the fifth house, which is my imaginative, creative inner child. Oh, I've been so, oh. But in retrospect, it's made me somebody better to look out for all the other things that come with the fifth house. I've talked about this in my dating expectations. I put more boundaries up. I've gotten more grounded in that. I feel more comfortable with saying no. No is a complete sentence. Okay. So it's little things like that that's gonna that you'll be noticing now. Either you've already learned it, so celebrate, make sure you take yourself out, give yourself a hug for learning that Saturn lesson, and Saturn will bring you in blessings. And also noticing them and making those changes, Saturn will begin to loosen up and make those things will become a lot easier for you to do, accept, and continue a process, of pattern, a new way of doing something. Um, so you can find it hard to be imaginative because you're too practical. That's so me. This can lead to a breakdown that will open you up to be more sensual, imaginative, and intuitive. Real thing. That's a real thing, guys. Be careful for impersonal approach, like your spiritual practices that lead to like detachment, objectivity, delusion of self or ego, closed-mindedness, narrow-mindedness, especially with Jupiter being highlighted here in Aries. This is what I was telling you guys about when I was talking all about the danger of being to yourself, saying staying to yourself, not opening up. And because Scorpio is that very energy that's about doing the internal work. And again, let's make no mistake, very valid, but there's a time and a place. And if you don't have balance within that, it can easily become detached, a detached stoic approach to your spirituality. And you're not allowed to grow within that into that Phoenix rising energy. You don't actually really make it to the other side of seeing the beauty of that, or even that you can be a teacher, or just expanding in that energy, period. You know what I mean? I think we see this a lot in the Christian community, um, in the Christian faith and priests. You'll hear them, they're very, right? If it's not the book, then it's nothing else. But then you'll see some of these new age Christian people where we will even I find myself posting some of those gospels and godlike sayings, because I'm like, well, now that's more spiritual than it is religious, if that makes sense at all. A quick story, and I promise I'll get off my soapbox here. I'm almost done. When I first started college, my first class that I took was Intro to Psychology, and the guy who was teaching the class was a forensic um, a forensic psychologist. And the first thing he said, the opening to that class, is that before religion became religion, it was philosophy. Pay attention to what I'm saying to you right now, family. All philosophy is a way of life. And when you think about your good book, and if you've read it and you understand it, is that not a way of life? And so when you get rigid and you start throwing God on people, and there's no movement for, you get a narrow mind of a spiritual faith and practice and belief. I hope I'm making sense here. Be open to understanding, even in your spiritual practices, that God sometimes might fit in there in some way. They are perhaps one and the same energy, but can be looked at and seen in different ways and views, right? um I can say so much more on that, but I think you guys get where I'm going with this. I actually had a really good healing conversation with my dad about this, and we are now at a place where we can both have, at me as a spiritual person and my father as a religious person, we can now have religious slash spiritual conversations and meet in the middle, because we can now see where they are one and the same, and they share some different things. And I even learned a different perspective of where he was coming from, and just understanding like his path and his journey and how he was speaking about it. So I think another thing that can come up here is that you're learning other ways to look at things, or just respecting the fact that somebody has a different perspective, and it can still be appreciated and loved in some way. I don't I hope I'm making sense, because it's so deep and passionate to me. um it was really quite a beautiful experience, though. And in that way, I get to heal the masculine energy, as I talked about in that Venus Jupiter video. Whenever you heal and you learn something new, something like that, and you're able to show gratitude between one another, whether it's a man or a woman, you're healing that masculine energy, that feminine energy, which in turn opens you up to more possibilities of meeting somebody or people who are on the same page as you. It's, think of it like an initiation process. You pass the test, you get the green light, you get the go, the thumbs up. And I think I used some of those themes in that video as well. So you can be challenged to be more subjective and emotionally oriented and open-minded, which is really beautiful. It really, really is a beautiful experience if you're doing this right, family. And so we might tend to be skeptical, have doubt and worry, concern, but try not to make decisions out of fear. So it's very important to know that skepticism, doubt, and worry and concern are very necessary with Saturn. Just point blank, period. I think I talked about this in my Virgo new moon video that I just posted. Earth signs are gonna want to know. They're gonna want to show you. Got to show me proof that of what you're telling me right now. And there's nothing wrong with asking for that. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. And then at the same time, making sure that you're not doing that out of fear, because then that brings in a whole other vibration to the conversation of something that can go completely wrong when you're not being open-minded. All right. Um, so, looking at things closely, questioning things with interest to understand and use discernment, and calculating and thoughtful, well, now that's a beautiful conversation. So if you're doing things to be controlling, you will learn to be more concerning with the heart. This can lead to active listening, leave you listening to your intuition when making decisions, and being cooperative. And I think the last one I have here is to be understanding to others' experiences just by listening. So, yeah, man. Y'all know I'll be on that. Okay. Okay. As usual, I hope that you're getting all this vibration here, y'all. This is my Venus and Aries is being activated, so I'm in my warrior energy. Okay. You get the heck off it. I love and appreciate you guys. I hope you found this information helpful. Peace.